Super quick before we start the video, I did want to say that we have another channel, Degenerate Plays, where we play through video games together, kind of podcast style. I really want to grow that channel this year and over the next year. It's not something a lot of people see. Right now we're wrapping up Assassin's Creed 1 and wrapping up Stellar Blade as well. But we've played through Kingdom Hearts games, we played through Metal Gear games, we played through all kinds of stuff over there, and we have a lot more in the future coming. So appreciate you. Hope you'll check that out. Let's hop into the video. I did want to talk for a few minutes about something that I wasn't sure I was going to cover, but I know you guys like hearing about this stuff. And that is a new rumor. Let me just preface this, okay? Rumor. This means it is not confirmed. Do not get your hopes up. That is what I'm going to start with. That WB and Rocksteady are working on a new Batman Arkham game. Now, before we hop further into this and take an in-depth look at this video, if you want to support this channel, you can leave a like, subscribe. A lot of my videos are not getting shown recently, so that kind of thing means a lot to me. And I do have a question of the day for you, which is, would you trust Rocksteady or WB, actually in general, with a with a Suicide Squad game? Holy my brain is fried. With an Arkham game, with like another Batman Arkham game. Now, I do want to clarify a couple things here. This rumor comes from Nick Baker of Xbox Era. For some reason, and I'm not going after Nick here, old Nicky boy, everybody and their mother seems to have written an article about this. In fact, I will link a couple of them in the description down below. It seems like just anybody can say, hey, I heard they're making a Batman Arkham game, and it's like a press cycle wet dream. I do not have high hopes for this, not because I think Nick Baker of Xbox Era is, unreliable or reliable. I don't know this person. I do know they run a website or help run a website, but I don't know anything really about them. What I will say about this is that they said that they heard Rocksteady Studios is back to making Batman, and that his understanding or thought was that Sony were trying to basically push for exclusivity of that game. Basically like using financial incentives to push for some kind of timed or permanent exclusivity. But he doesn't say exclusivity. He says Sony are trying to money hat it, which is pretty much what that kind of means, is like trying to throw money behind something in order to get it early, like marketing rights, whatever. Now, here's the thing with that. I don't think that WB would be willing to, first off, go for exclusivity on this game. I could be wrong. Like, let's just assume the game is real for just a minute. As the good old Benjamin Chaperone says, for the sake of the argument, let's assume that the game is real for just a moment. Look at what's happening with WB. Suicide Squad did horrible. Then you also have the fact that, and it's still not doing very well, to the point where basically the head honchos of the studio kind of jumped ship and started their own studio. Now, we've talked before about who's at fault here. I think a lot of people want to say WB because I think deep down we all just kind of want to, poke WB, just kind of give them a jab, because WB's been so ridiculous over the years. Like, they've done so many ridiculous things, even behind the scenes to my channel. You guys have no idea some of the dumb stuff WB's done, like manually claiming my Kevin Conroy passed away tribute video just to make money off of that man's death, and refusing to let me donate that money to charity. That's something WB did. I've never told you guys about, because I don't know, maybe I'll make a whole video on that in the future. If you want, let me know. I never really got into it because of not wanting to heavily capitalize off Kevin Conroy, because I really respect him. I mean, I made that video. I was going to donate any money it made to charity. That was a month where I was really struggling financially, and I was still like, I just am going to donate this money. No, they took all of it and put it towards whatever they use it for, to capitalize off that man dying. So WB has done a lot of really, really bad stuff. I'll say that's all in my opinion, even though I can show you receipts of it happening. WB's done a lot of things that frustrate us. And I think another thing that frustrated people was Batman Arkham Shadow. Now, when it comes to Batman Arkham Shadow, I do want to say that I actually really respect the crew making it. I think that when I first talked about it, I was a little frustrated because of how WB handled Batman, and how I was always wanting a sequel to Arkham Origins, and VR just kind of makes me not feel very good. I also have hand problems, and I have a disability issue with tremors that make those kinds of technologies hard for me to use. And on top of that, I never thought VR was the core audience of the Batman Arkham community. Now, that said, there's a lot of people who could say, well, then it's time to expand that audience. And I've seen that argument. Fair enough. But I do think that, unfortunately, Camouflage got caught in the crossfire of that criticism, which I never tried to direct at them, and I don't think people should, because they are just trying to make a game they're passionate about with Batman Arkham Shadow. In fact, I really respect Ryan Payton. He actually reached out to me on Twitter, which I refuse to call X, to this day. Was extremely nice, extremely gracious, even though I voiced like, hey, here's the things I don't like about this happening. Just a super nice guy, class act. Most creators nowadays that you see would fly off the handle and be a baby about it and get super mad. Really cool person. So I feel like you already do have a Batman Arkham game coming out from a passionate crew right now, which is Batman Arkham Shadow. It's just not one that I know if I'll play because of my own personal, both financial and bodily issues, and that I think a lot of people won't play because they either won't be able to afford to buy the MetaQuest 3 on the side, or they don't support Meta as a company, especially with all this stuff with Zuckerberg and certain laptop details being buried, literally coming out, being testified about, and a lot of political stuff around that company of Meta. I think there's a lot of reasons why people won't play that game that don't have anything to do with Camouflage. So that's unfortunate, but that's just kind of the position we're in, where that's the Arkham game we know is confirmed. Now, would Rocksteady work on another game on top of that? You know, Rocksteady themselves. Well, here's the question. Would you trust them to? If, again, we assume that this game is real, which I have no hopes of at the moment, because I've reported on things like this in the past, over the years. Arkham Insurgency and all these other rumored games, Project Sabbath, you know, those canceled games, or things that never got off the ground, like all the various Superman concept art for projects that never really went anywhere. I've talked about stuff like this before. And it's very hard at this point in late 2024 to now get my hopes up based on a rumor that doesn't have any evidence behind it yet. That's just very difficult for me. But even if I did get my hopes up, and I just went straight on delusion, like I'm entering the Asloom, I'm entering the Batman subreddit here mode, and I'm just going to latch on to, you know, this tiny little morsel and pray for the best. Rocksteady is not the company that was. Now, there's many reasons for this. First off, you have Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker who left. Now, in some ways, you could say, well, does that mean that this will be better? I mean, Sefton Hill was reportedly one of the reasons why Suicide Squad was the way it was. Maybe. But also, Sefton Hill was at the company and partially responsible for the success of all those other Arkham games. So you got to give him credit for that. I don't think that what we can do is we can just say, hey, everything good that Sefton Hill was involved in, or everything Sefton and Jamie were involved in, that all goes down the toilet because Suicide Squad wasn't for, you know, me, and not for many people at all. Kind of a Concord situation in a lot of ways, I think, where it really felt like it was mostly just for the video game developers who made it and no one else. Well, I don't think we can do that. I don't think we can discount things like Asylum, Night, City. You know, I just don't think we can fairly do so. So you have like a positive and a negative there with them being gone. Positive being, well, if they were one of the main problems with Suicide Squad, that's been removed. Negative being, well, they also contributed a lot to the positive aspects of the previous Arkham games. I will say with that too, though, so did Paul Dini, who was not involved in Night, which a lot of people criticize the most for its story out of those Rocksteady games, and also was not involved at all in Suicide Squad. So you're not going to get him back unless you make that worth his while. Bring him back after all of that. And you also have the fact that 100 Star Games reportedly swallowed up a lot of ex-Rocksteady employees. I would assume a lot of talented ones who got along well with Jamie and Sefton would go to their new company, right? I mean, people who had a problem with them wouldn't be the ones who left Rocksteady to go work with them, I would assume, unless they're just a huge masochist and they just love suffering. So now you got to think, okay, well, that team, or a lot of that team that worked together cohesively, is either split apart or gone. This is the same problem we're seeing with things like Metal Gear. This is the same problem we're seeing with things like Silent Hill. You know, it's like you're now trying to make it with new people. Can that work sometimes? I absolutely think so. Batman Arkham Origins, to this day, I stand by this, is either my favorite Arkham continuity story or my second favorite. It's really up there with City. Like, they're so close together for me, man. And that was made by WB Games Montreal. So I think absolutely you can get other people in who can make that. But I now ask my question, how many people are left at Rocksteady who were responsible for the worst parts of Suicide Squad? You know, if you have people like, if most of the writing team left to go to 100-star games, okay, well now like the worst part of Suicide Squad for me probably left, right? That would be something I'd say, okay, now I have more hope. I don't know those logistics of it. I don't think anyone really knows those logistics of it. Maybe someone could go through, now again, I'm not inciting harassment here, but maybe someone could go through all the credits of these games, cross-reference them on a big Reddit chart, and then, go to the 100-star games employee list and figure out who's there and who's not. I'm not doing that because I don't know, and I don't have 100 hours to do so. But I do wonder how many people are left at Rocksteady that were responsible for the good parts of these games, and how many are left that were responsible for the worst parts of these games. That's something that I think you need to ask. Because as of right now, if it was just the Rocksteady entirely that was 100% responsible for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I would say that game is not the worst thing ever made, but it's not good. And so now I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the fall off. I'm looking at how the only thing I can think of that's better looking in that game, or better in that game in general, is maybe the facial animations, because the technology since 2015 has just improved in the industry. But there's like things in that game that look worse than 2015's Arkham Knight. I guess all in all, I don't have a lot of faith in Rocksteady at the moment. Again, I don't want to discount all the good work that they did. That's not my point. But I don't know how many of those people are still there, and how many of the right people are still there. Like, if you're left with all of the people who, I don't know, contributed to some of the really questionable writing of Suicide Squad, I'm not going to trust those people to handle Batman. That's just kind of where I'm at. And that would all be assuming that this is true. We've heard these rumors over the years so many times. Sometimes eventually a rumor comes true. You know, we heard about Metal Gear coming back for 10 years? And then eventually it did. A broken clock is right twice a day. But I don't have faith, and even if I did, I don't know if I have faith that it would be good. That's just kind of where I am on it. I don't mean to rain on anyone's parade, but I've gotten my hopes up so many times for stuff like this that I just think it's worth waiting. It's worth seeing what happens and enjoying the stuff we have right now. You know, there's so many games, so many superhero games and stuff out, and that's kind of where I want to leave it. So if you enjoyed the video, you want to leave a like, subscribe, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I do appreciate that very much. I actually do have a Fortnite code, which is DJAY123. I want to say a huge thank you to those of you who have used it. That helps my channel out a lot. My revenue, across all my stuff, this is my tiny little business aside, is not very good. So those of you who support the channel in just ways like that, or ways like the memberships, the Patreon, which I'll show some here, some thank yous, that kind of stuff is very meaningful to me, and I appreciate it very much, far more than you know. I also did want to say that we do have a store, which is cosmobunny.shop, where we make transformative art pieces out of old comic book, manga, magazine, paper that's been damaged. We take some of those books, a lot of them have been waterlogged, or they've been just destroyed by years of use, and we find pages that have survived that are survivors, really, and we take them, we turn them into transformative art for your home, coasters, keychains, trays, and more. My wife Jill does an amazing job over there. She recently went to the Eau Claire Comic Con, had a booth there, did a really good job, so I'm very, very proud of her. Amazing stuff, and every purchase on there goes to help support our channel too. So we appreciate you. Hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui.